1. This happened about 30 years ago, but the Crisco expired about 35 years ago. I was a Cub Scout, and one of the annual events was a bake-off, where each scout makes a cake, which is then auctioned off for charity, usually back to parents or others in Scout community. As I was still under 10, I wasn't ready to use an oven by myself, so my father, who isn't a bad cook, was assisting me. I'm not sure how we decided what type of cake I was going to make, but we ended up making a Black Forest chocolate cake. Not the most difficult recipe, but one of the steps was greasing the pan. We didn't have spray-on oil, but we did have a big tub of Crisco in our pantry. My dad told me to grab it, so I did, and being somewhat OCD, I mentioned it was expired. My dad said not to worry about it, it should still be fine. It would not be fine. We finished the recipe, and it baked up beautifully, looking just like the picture. On looks alone, this cake was a winner. On smell, however, it was clear something was really wrong with this cake. My mom noticed it right away and asked my dad what happened. I chimed in to suggest it was the expired Crisco, while my dad tried to downplay it. When my mom looked at the Crisco can and saw how old it was, years not days, she was immediately with me that had to be the cause. By this point, it was about an hour before we need to be there, and we didn't have time to make another. I can't show up without a cake, or with a store-bought one, else I'll let the trip down. So my dad comes up with a plan. Since it'll be an auction, all we need to do is buy the cake ourselves and dispose of it. It'll probably go for $5 or $10, so not a problem. When we get there, my dad and I go off to submit the cake for the eventual auction. While we're away, my mom decides to tell my best friend's mom about our problem and our plan. This was a big mistake, as my best friend's mom was evil. When my cake comes up for auction, my mom bids on it. Suddenly, though, she's outbid my best friend's mom. She knows we won't let it go to someone else, so she wants to give my mom a bit of a hard time. My mom raises her bid, and she counters. Now you've got a bidding war for what looks to be a very delicious cake, and other people start bidding, not knowing the problems within. After many rounds of bidding, my parents managed to buy it for just over $100, roughly $200 in today's money. We get the cake home, and it goes immediately in the trash. We made other cakes over the years, but I don't recall another Black Forest chocolate cake. And I don't think we had Crisco in the house ever again. 2. To set the stage, I am an introverted 20-something female who has never dated anyone, intentionally. I have, however, gone to grab coffee with guys as friends to find out, after consulting with my best friend, that I may have been on a date. Thing is, I don't want to date right now. Even thinking about dating is stressful. I wouldn't qualify myself as being socially awkward, but navigating the Jane Austen-level social complexities of modern dating etiquette is just beyond me. In my opinion, it shouldn't be a date unless someone flat out says it is. So I met this guy, Joe, through a mutual friend, Jane, who is also a co-worker. He seemed interesting, and like someone who I would like to be friends with. So when he Facebook messaged me that we should grab dinner, I said yes. The day arrives, and Jane says something like, "Oh, so you and Joe are going on a date tonight, right?" Whoa, hold up. What? I explain that it's not a date, and Jane says, "Well, Joe thinks it is." Seeing the look of terror on my face, she adds, "But it's nothing to be stressed about, he's not expecting Anything. Just have fun. Well, I'm not mentally prepared for this. I swear you'd think I was in middle school, but I'm obviously not cancelling, so I go meet Joe as planned. We're at one of those hipstery places where you order and pay for food at the register, and they bring it to your table. We order, then Joe pulls out his credit card to pay. If there's one thing I do know about dating, it's that if the guy pays, it's definitely a date. I kind of protest, but since we've already both ordered, I didn't really think this through, there's really no way to split the check without making a scene. So while we're still at the register, I loudly blurt out, "Okay, but I'll get the check next time because this is not a date." I immediately want to die. Unfortunately, the ground does not open up and swallow me. But we have dinner, which to his credit is not actually as awkward as you would expect, and he drives me home afterwards, saving me a bus ride, which is nice of him. I am grateful to never hear from him again since I'm absolutely mortified. However, a few weeks later, Jane starts to say, "You know, Joe told when you guys went out and said it wasn't a date," at which point the phone rings, proving there is a God. We haven't spoken of it since, and I am scarred for life. 3. I decided to order a psychedelic t-shirt from Amazon. I was psyched, but my excitement was definitely tempered because shipping took 2 to 3 weeks. If it got to my apartment in around 2 days, I'd be able to use it for the festival that weekend, but that probably wasn't happening. I ordered some other stuff like trail mix for the festival, which had Prime support behind its shipping. Come Friday, and I get the trail mix. Weirdly enough, it shows that the t-shirt was delivered as well. Unfortunately, I definitely didn't get any shirt-containing package on my doorstep that morning. I get onto my PC and rattle off a letter to the makers of the t-shirt, letting them know something looked wrong. They responded, telling me to open an inquiry with USPS. Well, fine. I was a little annoyed at the time because I didn't even have access to the type of things they wanted me to fill out in the form, like type of delivery, address of the shipper, etc. I opened the inquiry but sent them a follow-up email letting them know I was really unsure about the info I put into it. They had told me to get back to them if the inquiry had no response after 3 days, but I decided to wait the full 2 to 3 weeks of the original shipping estimate to pass before accepting I'd never get that shirt. After then, like true gents, they printed me another shirt and sent it out again. I see on tracking that ETA of delivery is 2 to 3 weeks. Well, sure enough, I see the second shirt is delivered within 2 days. And I don't get a single package all week on my doorstep. So I feel pretty strongly convinced my apartment complex or neighbor is stealing my mail. But not all my mail. Just mail that looks like it has shirts in it or something. So I wait for the second delivery period to expire, and then talk to the company again. They seemed confused, and said they'd talk with management, as well as open up a ticket with USPS, this time themselves. At this point, it's 2 months after the original shirt delivery. I'm getting all my important mail delivered to my workplace. Shipping companies wouldn't even deliver to my previous apartment. This is something I hope not to do after the move, but something I'm used to. I get home from a mindless grocery trip yesterday. My parking lot is across from my complex. I like to sit in my car and chill and listen to music for a minute or two, just to round off the trip. Across the lot, today, I see an Asian girl, kind of cute. But more interesting was what she was doing. She was opening a grid of mailboxes. And then the memories of the keys the apartment managers gave to me when I moved in. And how weirdly some of them were shaped. And how few of them I had actually found a use for swept over me. I thought they just dumped my mail in front of my door. Yet, I had only ever gotten large packages there, and it was now apparent I was missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. I found the tiniest unused key I possessed. I found the spot on the grid that corresponded to my apartment number. It was a perfect fit. And I opened the door to a vast discovery of treasure, junk mail, my crucially important mail, other people's mail who had moved out, and 2 plastic packages. Could it be? It was! Well, I am never going to tell anyone how I screwed up and got a company to pay for the fact that I didn't know I had a mailbox. It was embarrassing enough just not getting and expecting the shirt in the first place. But I can tell you, and I told the company, and they let me keep both shirts. 4. A bit embarrassing this. I have tried to make this post as least gross as possible, and obligatory not actually today. Thought about a throwaway account to post this, but whatever. My wife and I had been having trouble having a child, and had opted for IVF. Today is the day of the procedure, which essentially involves my wife lying down in a chair, in stirrups, and me having to go into a room and produce the goods, ready for subsequent insertion. Obviously it's a little more complex than that, but you get the idea. My wife goes into the hospital room. They prep her and I am sent to the other room to get my side of the equation sorted. I am taken to a room which is far from what I had imagined. I imagined a nice room in a private hospital, comfy chair, selection of DVDs, maybe some fine wine, an open hearth, some relaxing music, and some exceptional peace and quiet. What I get is this: a 3x3 meter room, exactly like a typical hospital room, with a cheap chair in the corner covered in plastic, I get the sense in this, and a little box. No TV. I haven't enjoyed myself in private without the benefit of movie content since I was maybe 16, so this is already not looking good. At all. I open the box, and I have 3 magazines. The worst kind of British porn imaginable. And by the worst, I mean least sexy. We are talking Reader's Wives, Razzle, and worse. These things have already been used. Several pages stuck together. The signs are all there, and guess what? No phone reception at all, so no internet. I sit in the chair, put my head in my hands, laugh and think, how can this be any worse? And then I hear it. 2 cleaners going up and down in the hall, cleaning the floors, chatting away about their kids, TV, loads of things, and vacuuming on and off. By now, maybe 10 minutes have gone past. I wait another 5, and they don't go. So then the stress really kicks in, and I realize I just have to try and get on with it. Well, let me tell you, it's not easy. I spend about 25 minutes moving around that room, trying to find a comfortable position, trying to ignore the cleaner's conversation and vacuuming, and trying to get myself going. I'm kind of on my way, but not really getting there. And the next phase starts. My little friend is starting to feel a bit sore. I look down and the prolonged friction is starting to rub away my skin, and it doesn't look good. I get the sweats, and I'm thinking I have to stop, but the money wasted, the embarrassment, the horror, and how important this is. So I decide I have to continue no matter how uncomfortable it gets. And then it happens. Someone tries to open the door. I freeze. Instant loss of interest. And someone says, "Oh, he's still in there." And it's not a doctor. It's one of the fucking cleaners who want to clean the room. I lose my mind. I'm now sweating seriously profusely, with profound stress. Let's imagine that scene from the movie Airplane, where rivers of sweat pour from the pilot's forehead, and then add that I am on the floor, desperately trying to produce into a little plastic cup, with rubbish porn, a room full of doctors waiting on me, my wife strapped to a chair, and some cleaners trying to clean the room. It's bad. They go away. It's now at least 40 minutes in. I'm doing everything I can to get there, but it's just not happening. But 15 minutes later, miraculously, almost from out of nowhere, it does. My little fella is a mess. My shirt is soaked through like I've been out walking in torrential rain. I have cramp from lying on the floor, but I've done it. But then I look at the cup. Only about 5 to 10% has actually made it in because I wasn't paying proper attention to the collection. The rest is on the floor. I stare at the cup, and a full-on panic attack kicks in. But then I calm down. I'm thinking, what happens if I scoop up what landed on the floor? Is that bad? Fortunately, I regain my sanity and come to the conclusion that that would be very bad indeed. So I take the tiny amount I have, clean the rest up, and make my way out of the room back to where everything is waiting. I reach the room they are all in, knock on the door, and am let in. I'm covered in sweat. I'm practically limping. And it's now approximately 1 hour 15 minutes since they sent me to get on with it. I give the pot to the doctor. He looks at it, frowns, looks at it closer, and says, "Is that all of it?" We weren't able to make a baby that day. I went home wrecked, having known we had wasted thousands of dollars, and with a pretty uncomfortable friction burn that took weeks to heal. At least my wife found it funny. 5. So this happened the day before yesterday. I was just chilling, playing some Triforce Heroes online with friends, and getting pretty into it. A few hours later, my friends are done, and I decide I'm not full of Zeldery goodness yet. So I continue playing. I load into the game, expecting to have to wait in a lobby for the next 20 minutes while people join. It's at this point I'm starting to feel my belly rumbling. I need to tell you that milk clears me out like someone opening a fire hose, and I drank almost 4 pints during my gaming, so I knew I needed the toilet very soon. However, instead of getting told to wait for other heroes, I get connected as the last needed player. Of course, I, like an idiot, didn't go to the toilet while idling. I carried on playing, thinking if they suck, I'll just go idle. They were great. After a while, I could feel that growing sensation of the milky shitstorm growing behind my sphincter. But instead of being smart and just going to the toilet, I decided to clench my butt cheeks and hold off until the match ended. Big fucking mistake. I clenched, but in a way that let milky shit leak all over my vagina. I tried to rectify the situation, and of course, I just made the angle worse and directed the flow into my vagina. I just sat as still as I could until no more poop leaked out, then slowly shuffled to the bathroom and washed myself off inside and out. I needed fresh underwear and trousers too. Fortunately, the guys managed okay without me, and actually waited for me. So I finished the round as if nothing happened. Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Embarrassing Stories, Episode 16. You know, that third story there about the t-shirt, that actually reminds me of the time I got a free t-shirt. This wasn't actually down to my own mistake though, this was down to the mistake of the company. I was eBay, I think it was one of those t-shirt stores on eBay. You know, the kind, I think they print them to order or something. And I'd looked online, I saw quite a reasonable price. They were selling a black t-shirt with a Green Lantern logo on it, right? And it was not my favourite version of the Green Lantern, but it looked nice enough, so I decided to order it, and that was fine. They sent it to me, arrived very quickly, which I was very pleased with. A couple of days through the letterbox. That's one thing I do like about ordering t-shirts. It's not something I usually have to get up and answer the door for. Because they can just kind of smush them through the letterbox. And opened it up, and my Green Lantern logo was white. It should actually be green. So I thought, oh dear, have I perhaps made a mistake when I ordered this? So I went back onto eBay, checked my account, checked through the order. No, I definitely ordered a black t-shirt with the green version of the logo, because it doesn't make sense otherwise. So I sent them off an email, and then went out and did some shopping, came back a couple of hours later, and they'd responded within that time, which was nice. That's good service. And they apologised and said, well, tell you what, if you like, you can keep the one we sent you by mistake, and we'll pop the proper one in the mail tomorrow. Just let us know if that's okay. And so that is why I now, a couple of years later, have a slightly faded Green Lantern t-shirt. Well, black Green Lantern t-shirt with a green logo, and a very rarely worn t-shirt with the same logo in white. Oh, and if I can just give some advice to anyone who happens to be going and making a deposit, as it were, maybe put some videos on your phone, just in case. That way you'll know whatever you need is there with you in your pocket. If you don't happen to have the Wi-Fi, then delete them when you get home. Nobody needs to know. Nobody's going to ask. Nobody's going to judge. It's all in a good cause. And with that, I think I'm going to love you and leave you. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.